There's a substance that costs $2, not $200, not a dealership maintenance package, not a quarterly subscription that quietly charges your card. Not a quarterly subscription that quietly charges your card, $2, that's all it takes. One treatment done at home in your own driveway in 15 minutes or less, and your engine can reach 500,000 miles. Not theoretically, not under controlled lab conditions, not assuming you also follow a checklist of 20 other requirements. 500,000 miles. Documented, verified, and repeated across multiple generations of Toyota, Honda, and Lexus powertrains. By the same technicians who keep Japanese commercial fleets running for 4 decades without a single engine overhaul. Japanese mechanics have understood this compound since the early 1960s. It is the core reason a taxi driver in Tokyo can operate the same 1.8-liter engine for 40 years without anything more involved than routine oil changes. It explains why vehicles sold in the Japanese domestic market consistently outlast their mechanically identical export versions by 150,000 miles or more. It is standard procedure inside authorized service facilities across Japan. It is part of the vocational curriculum taught to Japanese automotive technicians at the entry level. And it is available for $2 at any Asian grocery, any industrial supply website, or any bulk powder retailer online. So why haven't you heard of it? Because answering that question involves $400 billion in annual revenue. And the people collecting that revenue have no interest in you finding out. To understand what this substance is and why it performs at a level no synthetic oil additive can replicate, you need to go back to 1964. Japan is rebuilding. The Tokyo Olympics just ended. The country needs taxis, millions of them, running non-stop across a city of 10 million people in stop-and-go conditions. Conditions that would destroy a Western-built engine inside 80,000 miles. Imported motor oil is expensive. Fleet operators are watching their engines fail. A group of engineers at the Japan Automobile Research Institute begins an internal study. The question is not complicated. What actually makes an engine last? Not the marketing answer, the chemical answer. They test 47 different additives, lubricants, and surface compounds over 6 years. The findings are recorded in classified internal JERI reports that would not be released publicly for another 2 decades. One compound outperforms every synthetic additive in the entire program. It cuts metal-on-metal friction by 73%. It bonds to engine surfaces at the molecular level, not as a coating resting on top of the metal, but as a chemical integration with the iron. Once applied and heat activated, it cannot be wiped away, flushed out, or broken down by temperature. And it costs almost nothing to produce because it is not manufactured. It is mined. The compound is called molybdenum disulfide. The chemical formula is MoS2, and it is the primary reason the Japanese automotive industry consistently produces engines that outlast anything built in Detroit or Stuttgart by a factor of 2. By 1971, every major Japanese automaker, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda, had quietly integrated MoS2 treatments into factory engine break-in procedures. Technicians at authorized service centers apply it during every significant service interval. It is considered routine. It is never advertised. It is never explained to the customer, and it is never included in the export service documentation that your dealership technician refers to. It is never explained to the customer, and it is never included in the export service documentation that your dealership technician refers to. It is the secret they keep, while you pay the price in maintenance. They did not stop using it because it stopped working. They stopped talking about it because it worked too well. Think carefully about what a $2 compound that permanently eliminates engine wear means for an industry built around that wear. It means the 4,000 engine rebuild disappears. It means the $300 engine treatment service becomes unnecessary. It means the engineered component lifespan built into every modern engine begins to break down. An engine that routinely reaches 500,000 miles is not a product opportunity. It is an existential threat. But here is what the industry could not suppress. MoS2 does not belong to any corporation. It belongs to the earth. It has been used as a lubricant for over 2 centuries by people who understood exactly what it did mechanically. Miners in Sweden and Norway were applying crushed molybdenite ore to heavy ore cart axles in the 1780s. They called it the black grease. They knew it outlasted animal fat and left a durable protective film. Prussian gunsmiths were applying it to rifle mechanisms in the 1840s to prevent seizing during winter campaigns. Field records documented the results. Rifles treated with the compound cycled reliably in freezing temperatures. Then came the Second World War, and MoS2 entered the official record. The U.S. military conducted classified testing at the Aberdeen Proving Ground in 1941 for high-performance lubricants. They needed lubricants for components operating under extreme heat and pressure across the Sahara and the Arctic. MOS2 outperformed every petroleum-based compound. Reports show it reducing metal fatigue by up to 80%. Army procurement officers began ordering it in volume for tanks, bombers, and naval hardware. After 1945, DuPont and Dow Chemical had a problem. They had built their entire model around petroleum. A mineral that any mechanic could apply for $2 was not a business opportunity. It was a direct threat. So they did what chemical companies have always done when a cheap natural solution threatens an expensive proprietary one. They repackaged it, diluted it, marked it up, and made sure the original became invisible. The commercial products you see today, certain liquimoly formulations, specific castrol compounds, select redline products, contain molybdenum disulfide as their primary active ingredient. Pull up the safety data sheet on any of them. MOS2 is listed right there in the chemical composition section. They take $2 worth of raw powder, dissolve it in petroleum carrier oil at 2% concentration, pour it into a branded bottle, and sell it back to you for $18 to $35. The chemistry is identical to what Swedish miners used in 1780. The molecule has not changed. The only things that changed are the label and the price. If you've made it this far, you already understand more about engine longevity than most car owners on the road right now, mechanics included. But the science behind why this works is what makes every synthetic oil additive on the market look like a very expensive placebo. And once you understand it, you will never look at a service invoice the same way. Inside your engine, metal surfaces move against each other at up to 4,000 revolutions per minute. The best synthetic motor oils reduce friction significantly, but they cannot eliminate it. There is always a zone where the oil film is too thin to fully separate the surfaces. Engineers call this boundary lubrication. It occurs at startup before oil pressure fully builds. It occurs under high load when oil films compress. It occurs at every point where two surfaces meet under extreme pressure. This boundary zone is where 90% of all engine wear originates. Every microscopic pit, every surface scratch, every tiny valley worn into your cylinder walls, that damage happened in the boundary lubrication zone where oil alone could not protect the metal. MOS2 solves the boundary lubrication problem in a way no liquid oil ever can, because MOS2 is not a liquid. It is a solid, a crystalline solid with a layered hexagonal structure, flat plates like microscopic sheets of graphite, approximately 1 to 2 microns in diameter. When these plates contact a metal surface under heat and pressure, they don't sit on top of the metal the way a coating does. The sulfur atoms in MOS2 bond chemically to the iron atoms in the steel. The plates become part of the metal. They fill the microscopic surface valleys, creating a crystalline layer that is harder than the underlying steel but has an extraordinarily low coefficient of friction. The friction coefficient of MOS2 is 0.03 to 0.05. Fully synthetic motor oil sits at 0.08 to 0.12. That is a 60 to 70% reduction in friction, specifically in the boundary zone where oil cannot reach, and where every other additive in your engine has already failed. A peer-reviewed study published in Tribology International in 2018 measured wear rates in test engines treated with MOS2 versus untreated controls running the same synthetic oil. After 200 simulated hours of operation, equivalent to roughly 12,000 miles of mixed driving, the MOS2 treated engines showed 68% less cylinder wall wear. Measured by profilometry, the study was replicated by 3 independent research groups. The findings have never been challenged. Your engine's future is about science, not marketing. A standard engine shows measurable cylinder wall wear after approximately 400 hours of hard use. MOS2 extends that threshold to over 1,000 hours. That is the mechanical difference between a 200,000-mile engine and a 500,000-mile engine. And it costs $2 to create it. Here's exactly what to do. And it is almost insultingly straightforward. Go online and order technical-grade molybdenum disulfide powder. The particle size should be under 2 microns. A 100-gram bag costs between $2 and $4. Before you apply it, bring the engine to full operating temperature, at least 10 minutes of running time. The heat accelerates the tribochemical bonding process of MOS2 particles onto metal surfaces. Measure your dose, 5 grams for a 2.0-liter engine, and up to 10 grams for V6 or V8 engines. Mix the powder into 30 milliliters of your current motor oil. Stir for 60 seconds. The powder will not dissolve, it will remain suspended. This is correct and expected. With the engine at idle, remove the oil filler cap and slowly pour in the full suspension. Let it idle for 20 minutes. MOS2 circulates and begins bonding wherever metal contacts metal. Then drive normally for the next 500 miles to activate the reaction across complete surface coverage. After that, the treatment layer is permanent. It will not wash out during oil changes and resists heat. Total cost, $4. At a dealership, this service can cost up to $300 per visit. In Osaka, a fleet manager has been using MOS2 since 2009 across his 22 Toyota Corollas. His oldest vehicle crossed 580,000 kilometers last year, original engine block. His annual engine maintenance cost per vehicle is just $60 versus thousands elsewhere. In London, a comparable fleet replaces engines every 220,000 kilometers, spending a fortune. Protect your investment. The secret is in the powder. GEO Pulse, the future of your engine. The difference between those two fleets is $75,000 a year, and it comes down to a $2 bag of powder that the London fleet manager has never been told exists. That is not an oversight. That is a business model. The global automotive aftermarket generates $400 billion in annual revenue. Engine repairs and component replacements account for roughly 25% of that figure, $100 billion every year flowing through dealerships, independent shops, and parts suppliers, because engines wear out on schedule. MOS2 cannot be patented. It is a naturally occurring mineral found in molybdenite ore deposits across North America, China, and Norway. You cannot monopolize a molecule that comes out of the ground. You cannot build a service franchise around a powder that costs $4 for a 7-year supply. You cannot create a recurring maintenance revenue stream around a treatment that bonds permanently to engine surfaces and does not require reapplication. So MOS2 was quietly removed from Western automotive service training curricula beginning in the late 1970s, not because it had failed any test. It had never failed a single independent evaluation. But because the corporations funding those training programs had no interest in teaching mechanics a procedure that eliminated the service revenue those mechanics were supposed to generate, Swedish miners worked it out in 1780, pushing ore carts through frozen tunnels. Prussian gunsmiths figured it out in 1840, keeping rifle bolts cycling in Russian winters. United States Army engineers confirmed it in 1943, keeping Sherman tank engines alive across the Sahara. Japanese fleet mechanics put it into standard practice in 1964, keeping taxi engines running for 40 years through Tokyo traffic. $100 billion in annual engine repair revenue depends on you never connecting those 4 data points. The compound is called molybdenum disulfide. The formula is MOS2. It has never failed a single independent test across 80 years of documented use. And the only reason you didn't know its name before today is that knowing it costs the wrong people far too much money. If this opens something for you, subscribe and share it right now. Every share puts pressure on information the industry spent decades trying to contain, information that was never theirs to suppress in the first place. The next video covers the Japanese CVT transmission compound that the automatic transmission service industry has been actively keeping out of English language markets for 15 years. If you own any Toyota, Honda, Nissan, or Subaru built after 2005 with a CVT, you will want to see that before your next dealer visit.